I'm a pretty bad kid.
And they gifted Nathan in the Stone. Yeah, that's ref the district. Come on now and join us.
Let's go.
And they gifted
We are
Nathan in the Stone. Yeah, that's ref the district.
that's the podcast.
Come on now and join us.
You join in. Yeah, let's talk about the bigger picture. Let's talk about how we be ballin', playing with the Wizards. Let's talk about the Nets and how they always got good pictures. Let's talk about the cats on rescue, turn them boys to winners.
Injuries and updates, oh yeah.
To the opponent, we stand toe to toe. Yeah.
To the top, this podcast gonna go, yeah.
I think it's something you should know. Yeah.
And they good with them all-season stats, that's a fact. And they can give you the season recap, yeah. You know that's for a fact,
yeah it is.
And you know we got our team on our back,
we
there's no other team can match, cause our team is way better.
We the best one.
Never be under the weather, W with the best ladder.
Always the best one.
Hey, we love Washington, and we some die-hard fans.
Yeah, we are.
And you know we keep it on 10. Let's talk about the offense.
1, 2, 3, let's go.
And they gifted
We are
Nathan in the Stoner, yeah, that's ref the district.
that's the podcast.
Come on now and join us.
You join in.
I'm a pretty bad kid.
Yeah, let's talk about the bigger picture. Let's talk about how we be ballin', playing with the Wizards. Let's talk about the Nets and how how they always got good pitches. Let's talk about the cats on rescue, turn them boys to winners.
Injuries and updates, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
To the opponent, we stand toe to toe,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To the top, this podcast gonna go,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's something you should know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode 25 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry, and he is the Stoner. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Nathan. You doing all right? Coming off of vacation? Everything okay?
I don't know if
there?
everything is necessarily okay. I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
awake. I'm alert. We got in pretty late last night,
Yeah.
2 a.m., and my wife, ever the prepared, decided to make sure that we were going to have groceries delivered first thing this morning. So I woke up to the dog barking because someone was knocking at the door. I decided to take that time and come downstairs to make sure everything was going to work. I noticed things were a little sluggish, though, Stoner. And so I was just like, well,
yeah.
let me restart the computer. And that was about at 9:30. And about at 9:55, when the updates hadn't finished running, I was a little panicked.
Yeah.
A little panicked.
Yeah.
But hey, it's okay. This is second week in a row that you get to run our show.
Running
Hey, I'm more than excited for that. And we got some we got some other good exciting news to go that I just want to jump right into that. Okay.
Let's go.
So Ref the District is now a part of the Lounge Room Network. So we're part of one of the family of podcasts that you can come out and you can see. We'll be retweeting a lot of their stuff. A lot of good podcasts across the various sports teams. So it's not just Washington sports. We're going to provide the DC feel, the Washington team, information for the Lounge Room Network. Looking forward to like some of the collaboration efforts that we'll have. So pretty big, exciting news for us here at Ref the District, especially because it actually does come with our now second official sponsor, and that's One Call Technology. So it's a managed telecom service provider with 100 years of combined experience, family-owned business for 29 years, and they welcome you to join, their senior staff that has all that experience to help with your business phone systems installation, manage your telecom service provider, telecom carrier management, and high-speed internet needs. You can go over to One Call's website at www.onecalltech.com or give them a call at 888-585-8850. So
Wow, you read that like a pro. Like you've
I
been
might
doing
have
this
some
for a
radio
while or something.
experience.
Right.
For our listeners out there, I have an entire sheet here with this information. I'm just having to like pick and go through some things. I'll take the time to write out several actual radio readers. But
Should we be expecting some swag?
from one
From
call
One
tech,
Call
I
Tech?
don't know, but
Yeah, I think if you want us to rock and really sponsor it, we got to get some swag.
I think
over
what
here.
actually we're going to do is we're going to start actually creating a lot more Ref the District swag, because
swag, okay.
One, we've got some fun stuff for the Washington football team coming up that we'll be attending, but also we've hit the mark that we wanted to hit for the fan show. We're going to be talking about that in the game, what it means now that we've had 100, and what we're going to be requesting from you, our fans, our listeners, our subscribers, because this is a passion for us, but we know the teams are a passion for you, so we want to hear from you. We've got some other things going on. So in the post game, we're going to be talking about the Wiz hiring Wes Unseld Jr., and we'll go over who the Caps protected. So we'll go over that in the post game. In the game, we're going to be talking about Jason Wright and how he started a whole Twitter flurry in the Washington Football Team Network with the new name information. And like I said, we'll go over the fan show. Now, in our warm-up, we have some, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened last night at the Nationals game. So
Yeah, that's a big deal. So let's get like the facts out there. If you have like a list of just the facts of what actually happened before we kind of get into our response and all that.
Yep.
Right. So for what we know for sure is that just as the top of the sixth was ending, there were 7 gunshots fired just outside the stadium along the third base line / left field line, where 3 people were shot and hospitalized and nobody killed, and it set off obviously a pretty big panic. And although panic might be a little bit of a heavy word, but there was a lot of scared.
I think
people out
panic's
there.
fair. I mean, you can see it, you know, from the videos, the various videos that are out there. You have fans rushing to get outside the stadium because at the, you know, when
Yeah.
you're, you know, for the fans who were inside, before the announcement came that it happened outside, a lot of people felt that it happened inside. And then you would also see
Yeah.
the wave of, as people were, you know, calling out shooter, 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 the wave of people, you know, moving out of the way. So I think panic's fair, and I think in that situation,
Yeah.
that's fair to have that kind
Kinda
of
calls for it, right?
reaction.
Yeah. But in the end, nobody else was injured because of the shooting. There were maybe a couple of injuries inside because of the panic that people were expressing. But outside, the 3 were injured. Of course, we hope that all 3 of them have a full recovery. They're supposed to. Everything that we're being told is that everyone will make a full recovery. There are non-life-threatening injuries. Police were on the scene like that because obviously there is a police presence in that area because there's a game going on. So they were on the scene like that. I don't think anybody's been arrested or taken into custody for the actual shooting. But right now, the most important part
People
is,
are okay.
of course, the
Yeah,
victims.
people.
Yeah, people are okay.
As well, I guess as
So-
okay as you can be after being shot.
Right, sure.
But yes, they're going to recover, as you mentioned. Very scary situation
So
as a
where were-
fan. So
Where were you?
the Atlanta airport.
When
Yeah,
all
I was
this
at the
went down?
Atlanta airport.
Yeah.
We had just got to our gate, and so I'm just sitting there and just, you know, scrolling through trying to get the updates and on the game, and then all of a sudden, you know, they changed from the game updates to the situation update, and so thankfully. My family was okay with me being glued to my device at this point and just kind of reading
Yeah.
through and seeing what was going on. You know, reports, you know, at first, you know, were, you know, people didn't know whether or not it was inside, outside, where, you know, the broadcast had shut off. I wasn't able to watch the broadcast because, again, I was traveling. So I'm just kind of catching what I could on Twitter. And,
Yeah.
you know, the live broadcast did have, you can hear the gunshots in there. So, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
and you kind of see it. To me, it looked like there were some people who, you know, kind of looked back when that happened, as you had people start to recognize. You know, I hear that there's some great stories from there, right? So we had Tatis Jr. who was helping fans, Manny Machado who was helping fans in. A lot of people are praising Davey Martinez, the manager, right, for Nationals because, you know, fans had, you know, because it's an active shooter drill, you know, not drill, but, you know, situation.
Yep.
Yeah, everyone's trying to take cover, and so some of the fans ended in the dugout. Some of them ended all the way back into where in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And as security was trying to get a hold of the situation, understandably so, that they needed to make sure that, you know, everybody's safe, and, you know, to include the national staff, you know, asked these people, these fans who are down there, hey, are you family? Martinez was like, yeah, they're family. They're our fans. They, you know, we need everybody to be safe. So good
Yeah, it was pretty
good
cool.
on him for doing that, and good on Tatis and Machado as well, for, you know, helping ushering in fans, you know, during a very scary situation there, as Adam in our live YouTube chant, you know, has mentioned. So
Yeah, I was sitting at home watching the game, which I tend to do. I try to catch every game, and either listening to it on the radio or listening to it on my app from the radio call, or watching at home. I happened to be watching that, and I was watching the Suns. Suns Bucks. Sorry, Bears and
I was about to say, I'm
Bucks, because we have a lot
pretty
of-
sure we have a
lot of
lot
Bucks
more
fans here in our
Mid-Eastern
network.
fans at this, you know, Midwest fans at this point.
Yeah. So I was sitting there, and I actually turned the channel in probably somewhere halfway in the 6th inning, because the Padres were just doing what the Padres have done all year to the Nats, which is just crush the ball. And I can't watch it after a while because plus it's baseball. It's a little bit boring. I can't stay glued to a game. So I'm going over to the Suns and Bucks and watching that. And then all of a sudden, like you said, the phone starts blowing up, right? With everything, with Twitter and everything that's going on. And I started looking at it and I said, well, what's going on? Let me go back to the game. And so I'm watching the game, and all it does is it has a wide shot of the stadium, and it says rain delay and graphics, and then it has another box on the side, and I think they were doing like ESPN2 or something with FanDuel updates, and I'm thinking, well, what is going on? What is Masson doing? And if you've watched or listened to the show before, I have a big problem with Masson because they are a terrible network. And this just proves it. They've got a situation that we've never seen before at Nats Park going on, and they chose to basically do absolutely nothing. No coverage, no on-scene reporting, nothing. Rain delay is up in the upper right hand.
Well, first off,
so I have to go elsewhere to find
on Masson's defense. I don't think the network's prepared to exactly put on, active shooter situation. Rain delay was just probably the graphic prompted. You probably have some intern. Now, I'm not the intern part I'm not going to forgive. Okay. I will get to that in a little bit. Okay. But as far as putting up the rain delay in immediacy, right? So you want to be able to, you're cutting away because you're not going to show the live situation. And just in case if there was an active shooter there and you're not going to broadcast the violence, you'll see some of it later. But as far as the thing is they should have, Madison needs to have employees that are at a desk. So when something like this happens, you can pull away to trained people who can talk through the situation. And then you're showing the situation safely. One, you're not showing it, Stone, because I want the camera people to also be taking cover if it was an active shooter situation. Okay, you don't want
wrong. That's totally wrong.
How is that totally wrong?
You absolutely have to cover.
Yes,
that's your job. To cover what's going on in the world.
Masson has a job to cover it. Absolutely, I'm not forgiving them for that. I just said how they should cover it. Okay, but you don't just sit there. Masson doesn't have the staff right now, right? They don't have the staff to sit there and go to a desk. And I'm not going to have them sit there and just show the mass panic that's happening. The cameramen are probably the camera people, because there's some camera women out there. I don't want to exclude them. They probably were actually staying at their cameras instead of ducking a cover, because that's kind of their natural tendency is to stay behind the camera and film it. But
first of all, Nathan, they do have people already there at desks, or maybe not sit specifically at a desk, but they have the play-by-play announcer, they have the color commentator, and they have the on-field reporter. Dan Kolko, FP Santangelo, and Alex Chappell. All three of them were there. They're already there. They already have cameras with them, camera people with them. They have everything, the infrastructure, which you seem to be talking about, is already in place. All you have to do is whatever it is they do when they have live shots of Dan Kolko and FP.
All at the field.
They have live shots
of them. This is all at the field.
Yes,
this is all,
absolutely.
This is all during an active shooter situation, and you want them to continue to be out there in an open situation.
1,000,000,000%. That's what I want from a network whose job it is to cover the Nationals, and they're already there. If Dan Kolko, for example, goes and runs for cover, that's one thing. Right? So you don't have that particular guy. Somebody has got to be live on air instantly when that's happening.
In a safe situation.
No, come on.
You want them running to the gunfire?
I don't want them running to the gunfire. They're up in the booth, do a live report. If something happens to be going on,
and that's what I'm saying, in a safe situation.
No, come on, man. This is live television. You want to be live on the ground reporting on what's going on in the situation.
In a safe manner. You don't want them. They're not going to be running. No. What do you mean, come on? Well, actually, out of the two of us, both of us have worked for the American Forces Network, but I'm the one who's actually a trained broadcaster. I'm going to throw it out there. Yes. So here's the thing, right? So they're going to get as close to the action as possible, but they still have to be safe, right? And the security team is going to make sure everyone's safe. And yes, it ended up being a situation that had happened outside. So now we know, looking back, that inside the stadium was safe. But you want them to be able to go to a situation. Yes, I want them to be telling me what's going on. I think that that's probably better off in a broadcast studio where the people who are on scene during an active shooter situation can get to cover. Okay, because you don't want to endanger anybody's lives. And then as information comes in, as stuff comes in, those broadcasters in a studio who are safe can do it. And if you don't have that, which Madison doesn't have that, right? You mentioned the staff that they do have live at the stadium. Get them to an area where it's safe and then let them broadcast. But even then, you're running the risk of announcing, if it were an active shooter situation, you're running the risk of that shooter, being able to identify where those people are at.
Okay, how about this, Nathan? If you happen to be listening to the radio broadcast, Charlie Slows and Dave Jagler, the radio announcers, they stayed through the whole thing, and they talked it.
A lot of the press, a lot of people
on 106.7 The Fan. They were live. They stayed. They gave you play-by-play of what's going on in the stadium, what the reaction is,
and where were they?
Madison did not. They're in the booth. They're probably 10 feet away from Dan Coco and FP Santangelo.
Where's that cameraman who's looking at the at Colco in San Angelo? Where that person's actually across the field. Okay, they're the ones who are going to be in danger. The camera's not right.
No, the one in the booth. Sure, it is. The one I'm talking about. If you watch the pregame, the 15-minute pregame show, which is all they do, they don't actually have a real pregame show anymore. But it's Dan. It's usually Bob, but Bob's on vacation. Scorebook Bob, shout out to him being on vacation. So you have Dan Coco and you have FP Santangelo, and they turn them around so that their back is to the park.
Okay.
And they do their live shots before the game.
I've not watched a game this season, so I don't know. I'm not as familiar with the setup. I listen to it on radio or keep the updates, because as you mentioned, baseball
they're right there.
tends to be a little bit slower. This is one of the first games we're coming out afterwards, and I've mentioned already. Pretty much anything before All-Star is to me is a wash. We do have Chris in our chat who says, covering the violence, assuming it was a mass shooter looking for to make a statement or get attention, just gives them what they want. So they don't. Chris is saying you cover the situation, but don't show it. Which I think is entirely fair. I do think that the reporters who were there on scene, such as you mentioned the radio commentary, and then you also we had a bunch of the reporters who were there tweeting the situation. I actually want to say we can look this back up, but I'm pretty sure Kolko was actually one of them who was tweeting what was going on. So it was he was. So this is where, again, I'm not going to forgive Masson for their decision to not put people in a position to keep us informed, as the viewers. Now, the main situation, and I think the Nationals themselves did a good job trying to keep people informed and safe at the stadium. So they were announcing it. The rain delay thing, again, like you don't tend to have a whole bevy of graphics available for any given situation. So somebody quick hit the one that was needed, to say, hey, technical difficulties.
I'll give them the 5 minutes of having the rain delay graphic up there. But when it was deemed safe, and it was deemed safe very quickly after all this went down, it was deemed. First, it was a shelter in place for about 15 minutes. And then after that, it was, okay, there is no active shooter. There is no threat. Please exit safely away from the left field. They opened center field and right field. So go in that direction, and everything is fine.
Shout out to the D.C. police as well for securing the area.
Metro Police Department was awesome.
I missed one shout out earlier. I got to say this before I forget. So we mentioned Tatis. We mentioned Machado. Will Myers was actually another player
Yep, he's another one.
acted quickly to get fans to safely. So I just wanted to make sure we
good.
give the shout outs to those who were there taking
good for
care
them.
of
Absolutely.
fans.
But just to maybe kind of put a bow on this whole Masson thing, they came back after about 15 minutes and they said, okay, here's a quick 30-second of the situation. Everybody stay safe, and we're out. Let's show Cornhole. That's a joke of a network.
That was bad. That was
Joke of a
absolutely
network.
bad, right?
And that ticks me off because for me, I don't live in D.C. or in the D.C. area. I'm up near Baltimore, so I get Baltimore stations, right? Except for the sports stations, the NBC Sports Washington and Masson, so I can watch all of the local D.C. games. So that's my only source of information. If I go to the news in Baltimore, they're not cutting in live, right? So the DC stations are cutting in live, but I don't have access to those. So Masson is my only source of information broadcast on television. Obviously, there's Twitter and all these other sources that I can go to. But it's just ridiculous that when they did finally come back, when it was deemed safe, they gave a 30-second spiel, and then they went to Cornhole. And that's a joke of a network, and I hope they never exist again after this. I hope they get called out so much that something happens. Of course,
yeah, they need to improve. And Masson, we've seen over the last few years, it's had a lot of cuts. There was the legal battle. There's so there's definitely a lot of issues with the network, and they don't provide the best coverage. Right. So
no, they don't.
I'll say this. The individuals I find okay, or I like them. You know, Dan Kokol does a good job. You mentioned JP. You mentioned a couple of the others. You know, individually, they're fine. Okay. I'm not,
Sure,
I don't want to rag on the broadcasters. I think that that the talent is doing the job that they're being paid to do. I think that the network itself has either had its legs cut out from underneath it with all these issues, you know, with a lot of the cuts that's happened over the last year or so, and they're just not providing. Masson isn't providing quality coverage. Period. You mentioned 15-minute pregame. You mentioned cutting to Cornhole during this situation instead of keeping the viewers informed.
And then not doing anything afterwards. Right? That was ridiculous. So, but to kind of put a good spin or a good face on this whole thing is that, like you said, there were a lot of people that acted quickly. The Metro Police Department, the Nationals were very informative on what they wanted you to do right at the beginning. Some of the players opening the dugout / clubhouse, Davey Martinez allowing people down into what's normally a private area. All that was a great response. And I thought everybody handled it well, because this is obviously not something that you expect to happen in the middle of a baseball game, to have a shooting that was right outside there. So it was a good response. And anybody, especially those Twitter trolls, anybody who says differently as far as how these people handled it, really need to check themselves. There was one troll, and I know you have a troll that you want to get to, but I'll get to a different one, where they said the Nationals did a terrible job of helping them out in this situation. And all I have to say about that is they were very informative, and also nobody was hurt. So you can, inside the stadium, directly related to the shooting. There were a couple of minor injuries based on the panic that set in. But nobody was hurt. Nobody was seriously injured. And therefore, they did do a good job in making sure everybody.
I don't want to be results oriented in that way. I do think that in the situation, I think that they reacted as best as they could. So I don't want to just sit there and say, oh, because they didn't have any injuries or anything like that, they're very fortunate. I think everyone's very fortunate. The situation was, listed essentially as a drive-by, and that it was outside the stadium.
Right.
Again, no, people are not prepared to just immediately announce these kind of things. Crisis management is a very difficult thing. People, I used to be a hospital administrator. We used to practice this stuff all the time, and then when stuff actually happens, you'll see, there's been bridge collapses and stuff like that where once the chaos hits, it's very difficult to manage. And so those are people who are trained to do it, sometimes don't get it right, even though they spend a lot of their time training for it. For the Nationals and the team there, the staff there at the field, I think that they did the best they could, and I do think that they helped, minimize, the situation as best as they really could. So kept people safe. We had the player stories, coach stories, so you have a lot of people who were there to make sure that the situation wasn't worse than what it could have been. Because like you said, when there's panic, people kind of, they aren't afraid to stomp over somebody if they think that that's going to save their life. So, and maybe not even deliberately, just kind of in a panic setting. So I'm very happy to hear that, everyone was safe. Best, wishes to those 3 that were injured, and hope for a speedy recovery for them. Masson can go suck it. That's straight from the Stoner.
I hate him. God,
That's straight from the Stoner. I hate him. Yeah, there are some trolls out there. I tweeted one. I'm not going to give him any more clout than that. Yeah, the guy's that what he said was despicable, and I'm just going to leave it at that because it does aggravate me. So that's
well, like we've talked about many times, Twitter is a cesspool.
This guy particularly, man. Oh man, that got me going. You're gonna get me talking about it, Stoner. I just said that I don't want to talk about it. I'm gonna let it go.
Let it go.
All right. Well, that wraps up our warm up. We're going to be hitting into our the name change and as well as our fan episode now that we've hit 100 subscribers on YouTube, and also some additional changes you can expect now that we're a part of the Lounge Room Network. I'll give you a hint though. Not much. You're still going to have some great coverage from the Stoner and me, Nathan. We'll get you right after the logo. What do we put it on? He's running the show, folks. I'm going to let him do his thing.
On the game, baby, on the game.
Welcome back to the game. It's Game On here. So as you know, we do stream this show live on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we also put this out on the podcast platform, so you can get us on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and Google. So you can catch us all the way all over there. That's good. That's dandy. And we're gonna, like I said, we're part of the Lounge Room Network now. So we're gonna have some things. But we do primarily broadcast ourselves on YouTube. That's our main focus. We do the visuals. We created all the graphics and stuff that you see here that Stoner's running today. Second week in a row.
Flawless,
holding strong. So now we do realize that some of our listeners do listen to podcast form. So we try to make sure things are as delectable for the ears as they are for the eyes.
Did you say delectable? Is that the word?
I did. You know what? I on the spot, just kind of spewing again. Very little sleep here, Stoner. I just got back from vacation. That's why my hair, for the, you can't. Our listeners won't be able to see this, but our viewers can see that my hair is just. It's a mess.
It's a
I've got the leave beard. It's scruff going on.
You're not.
I'm not
right now.
I need a shower and a nap. That's what I need.
Okay.
So, but we do, like I said, we do both, but we really enjoy the visuals, and that's something that I think for our viewers, our subscribers, can get in on, and we want you to get it on, right, Stoner?
Yeah, absolutely. So we set a goal a while back of trying to get to 100 subscribers on YouTube, and we kept saying, look, if we get to 100, we're going to do a special fan episode, right? So now we've gotten over the 100 subscriber mark. In fact, we're at 129. Whoop, whoop. So if you all have friends, make sure you let them know to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to grow even more. But so what is this fan episode? Basically, it's going to be how you, our listeners, and our viewers became Washington football team fans. What prompted it? Was it your parents? Was it friends? Were you born in this area? Did you like the Fun Bunch growing up, or the Hogs, or whatever it was, and that caused you to become a fan. We're going to give ours because both of us are transplants. We're not here from this area. But we want you to record yourself, maybe a minute on your camera, send it to us at refthedistrict at gmail.com.
You can't get on me
right?
for saying delectable and saying
Delectable.
that when
I
you
couldn't
can't
remember.
even get out our address, our email address for the
Yeah,
record. It's refthedistrict, all one word, at gmail.com.
Yeah.
It's literally
All right,
the
thank
name
you
of the
for,
show
clearing that up.
at gmail.com.
At Gmail.
And my co-host
Yeah, now I know.
can't remember our Gmail.
Hey, look. The tech part is flawless. This part sometimes not so flawless.
Not so delectable.
So not so delectable. So so we're gonna do that, and then we're going to play them on our show 2 weeks from today, right? So it's the July. Is it August 1st? What would it be? Or is it July 31st? Today's the 18th. So yeah, August 1st, I believe.
So
the
it'd
show
be the,
is going to be.
And I feel like that's going to be appropriate. We're going to be talking about the camp that's going on down.
Yep,
So
we're
we're
going
going
to
to the camp. So you should be able to see us while we're out there. Hopefully we can get some Ref the District shirts to make it even more noticeable before then, or more identifiable.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the August 1st episode, we'd like to give some fan shout outs for all the support that we've gotten. So if you're a fan of the Washington football team and you'd like to send us a video to use during the show, please send that.
Yep, we're going to
send
play
that to refthedistrict.com. We're going to put the deadline because there are some.
See, refthedistrict.com. You didn't say
I
at
did.
Gmail.
Okay, listen, I call them out.
We're even.
I don't know if we're even,
even.
but we'll, at least I got the ref the district part. So yeah, so
Okay,
refthedistrict at gmail.com is the email. So what, Stoner, we need to be able to do some production work for these. So let's make sure we give them a hard deadline that allows us for that. And reminder, we're going to be at the camp.
Yeah, on the 31st we're going to camp. So let's say, I don't know, the 28th.
Okay, so.
Or 29th even, maybe. Probably 29th. We can go to the 29th.
All right, 29th. All right. That should give us enough time. So, again.
Yeah, and we're going to be pushing this hard on social media to get these submissions from our listeners / watchers. Viewers. That's probably a better word.
So if you want to be a part of Ref the District, this is your chance. Again, the deadline we're given is going to be the 29th of July. You can send in a 1-minute video explaining how you became a fan of the Washington football team, and we'll show that during our camp, recap episode on the 1st. So we're excited to have that. Excited to have you join the show. So thank you for subscribing. We definitely appreciate the support that we've gotten.
Absolutely.
And that includes the support that we've gotten from the Lounge Room Network as we've joined their team just this week. One of those changes you mentioned, social media, is we will go ahead and set up a Facebook account. So you should be.
We're doing that.
So look at that. Out. He's not the only one who gets to surprise people, folks. He likes to drop things in during the thing. But no, I'm going to go ahead and I'll set up the Facebook account. You can look forward to that. So by Sunday show, we'll have our next Sunday show. We'll have our Facebook account active. So be sure to update our link tree and make sure everything's good to go, and you can join us there on Facebook.
So we're going to be doing Facebook Live the same time? I mean, concurrent.
One of the things I was looking up before
YouTube?
my computer went on the fritz and I decided to restart it was actually the multi-streaming capabilities with an OBS to make sure, hey, if we stream on YouTube, can we stream on Facebook and even Twitter, even though I know you have difficulties viewing Twitter live streams.
What's going on there?
I think it'd be a great thing for us to be able to shoot it out that way. So we're going to continue growing and developing the show. That's one of the reasons why we joined the Lounge Room Network, as we see that opportunity within the network to be able to branch out, have some team chats. This is one of the things we're looking at actually is, for this upcoming season, Washington football team season, is we're actually looking to get some of this, the other teams, podcasters on the show so we can talk to them about what's coming up. We're linking up. I'm not going to name the podcast just yet because I don't know if it's 100% set in stone, no pun intended.
Right. It's pretty locked in.
Yeah,
but
we'll
we
save it.
haven't
We'll make sure
confirmed,
that
so, yeah.
we'll save that announcement for later. But we're also going to collab with another Washington football team podcast to do a game, preview. We're going to do a tailgating service. We are going to move the show time. So I think that
Yeah.
August 1st show will be our last Sunday show, and then we're going to move it to a Tuesday evenings after that. But more content coming to you from the Ref the District folks, so we're pretty excited to really get the ball rolling as the Washington football team gets their season rolling. We'll get moving and shaking as well.
Hey, Nathan, I got a statement
Okay.
for you. And I put this out on Twitter yesterday. I know what the team name is.
Yeah, you don't.
I didn't see that coming. I thought you were going to say, "Oh, really? What do you think the team name
No,
is going to be?"
I'm not going to set you up
But
for
no,
this.
you were just
I
like,
already said it
"No,
on,
you're not."
on Twitter. I was like, I'm going to be more right about knowing that you weren't going to tell me. Folks, again, this is not just a bit for the show. This is a real thing. Stoner loves to come up with these ideas, and I'll be like, okay, well, let me know, because again, trained broadcaster, I can be able to prepare it.
Yeah.
I can spin it. I can do something. And he's like, no. I'm just gonna drop it onto you for the show. So I told him over Twitter publicly. I was just like, I'm more right. I'm saying this right now, so that way we can clip this and we can show it, just like we were right on the hire for Wes Unseld Jr. all the way like a month and a half ago. Okay, so now we can clip this particular moment right here. All right, pausing to give you a good point to clip from.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you.
I know
yet. I
you're
gotta
not
build
going to
it
tell
up.
me. I'm clipping
Okay.
this part. I am more right that I knew you weren't going to tell me until the show than you are about the name. Okay, there's a good clip part right there for you, because then you're going to go to your part, which is here right now, where you're going to spin some yarn, and then you finally let us know the team name, and then we're gonna clip that together, so that way when the name gets announced, when the Washington football team is hoisting the Lombardi, and Dan Snyder's just like, go whatever we are going to be called, and the fans are all celebrating. There's going to be a bunch of people like, wait, hold on, did he just announce the team name? Yes, he announced the team name, because that's an exciting time to do it. Or, it's just going to come out in a press release, because it's, who knows what's going to happen. Would love to see Washington, hoist the Lombardi. And I just really like saying the word hoist for some reason. But
and
delectable. So,
right.
All right, let's get to it. Let's spin some yarn. I want to hear what's the name going to be, Stoner.
All right, so buckle in, right? Strap in, story time, right? Okay,
Got the
so
old
I gotta
man
go
glasses.
to the glasses.
I got to get that old man
the old
glasses
man
music
glasses.
ready for you.
Yeah, sorry, I have to do it. This is just one of those things. So before we get to what the name is going to be, let's eliminate a lot of the names that are popular out there. Okay, so first of all, we know, because Jason Wright told us, that Warriors is not going to be the name. It's off the table.
Some people not happy about
and he
that.
he even said that was his number one. That was his leader in the clubhouse until he was taught, until he understood why that name can't work and the people that it would affect.
Can I just say real quick that's concerning to me that was his leader?
Well, I think it was most people.
Well, I think it's generic, right? And I think people were like, it's fine. We'll just go with the Warriors, and that seems almost as unimaginative as just staying the Washington football team.
Okay. Well, we know it's not going to be that, because Jason Wright
flat out just told
came out very clear, said that's not going to be it. So we can also say that we know that there's not going to be anything even remotely close to a Native American in any way. I said, like, within 7 degrees of separation from that name. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but you cannot in any way tie it back to the name, the Redskins, or Native Americans in any way. So we know that. Now, we also know, I know, because I know the name, it's not going to stay Washington football team.
Yep.
Because, for many reasons, But a lot of people put out there, well, what if they do happen to win the Super Bowl this year as the Washington football team? Do you have to keep that name then, right? Because that's what's going to be on the trophy, all that you just mentioned as well. Well, they're not going to keep it because football team cannot be trademarked. It's too generic of a term. I have heard directly from a patent attorney that said it is 100% impossible to trademark that name. So even if they wanted to, they can't. I mean, they can keep it generic like it is now, but you can't trademark it in terms of selling all the stuff and that becoming your name. And plus, it just looks stupid on television when it's Cowboys versus football team.
Branding is very difficult, and to this effect, and this is something that I think is probably even more, or it's in line with the trademark thing, right? Because the team is here to make money, right? It's an entertainment industry, and they want to make money. And branding for Washington football team is very, very difficult. And I'm wearing a shirt here, and it's just it's fairly generic. So
yeah, and you know who can make that shirt? Anybody.
So it will be something to watch and see, as because that's something that Jason Wright had mentioned in his interview, was that they're looking to the future and they're trying to, be inclusive, yes, right, but then also have things that are like they're looking to be more than just a football team. And so that's where it's not going to be Washington football team. So they're looking bigger, they're looking into the future, and so some very interesting things coming out, from the Washington Football Club.
Now that's a possibility, because I believe you can trademark football club, because that's a little bit more specific rather than team. Team is just way too generic. So they won't even be allowed to get a patent on that. All right. They're not going to have anything with the name red, or with the color red. It's not going to be red wolves. It's not going to be red tails. It's not going to be anything with the word red in it. Because last time I checked, there is no team out there in any sport in the entire world who has a color in their name and that's not their team color. Right? So Jason Wright has also already said burgundy and gold is here to stay. He's made that very clear as well. So you can't have a mascot that has red in it and not be red. Show me an example. You got the green wave, you got the blue hens, you've got the yellow jackets, you've got the Browns, for crying out loud, who are not even named after a color, but that's their color.
No, they're like an orange. I wouldn't even give it. I think that's your example right
brown.
there. They do have brown in their uniforms. They do have brown and everything.
Yeah, of course they do.
Orange is more of a defining color for them, though.
So you can't be burgundy and gold colors.
I do agree with that. I do think that the red part has to go, because burgundy and gold are the colors. So burgundy and gold is the thing. Get rid of red. And Jason Wright said, it's kind of furthering this along here is, they're not beholden to HTTR, right? The old slogan, the hashtag that we see still used today. They're not sitting there trying to shoehorn something in. A lot of people are trying to shoehorn things in, which is where the red wolves came from. Instead of just the wolves, they were like, no, use red so that way we can stick with the HTTR. And Jason Wright's like, that's not how this is going to.
You're not going backwards. You don't start with HTTR.
This isn't a gaming system. There's not backwards compatibility. Right. It's already built in. The history will still be there, and then they'll move forward with some stuff. Now, I know a lot of fans, that hurts a lot of fans, because a lot of people have tattooed HTTR onto their bodies. A lot of people.
Well, they're dumb.
Well, anyway. That's their individual choice, and I think that's okay.
Sorry, there may be some people listening or watching that have that tattoo.
Stoner's opinion. I hope that you do not, unfollow us or unsubscribe because of Stoner's opinion. I don't think that you're dumb I think you're passionate, for having done that.
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't think that it
was just a gut
diminishes the team changing and not sticking with that. I don't think it diminishes. I think that's part of history. Throwbacks are a thing.
Sure.
I know a lot of people, we talked about this last week or a couple weeks ago, why people are just so held on to the old, the term Redskins and Washington and how they feel about that, which is why I think the burgundy and gold thing is a good move. So
Yeah. All right. So those are a bunch of things that we know for sure based on what Jason Wright specifically said in that interview with JP Finley on NBC Sports Washington, right? So he also said it's going to be a name that unites the city, unites the fans, all of that. So it's not going to be anything that has the possibility of being offensive to anyone in any way. So any animal, gone, get it out. Any animal, insect, whatever, none of that is going to be, because one thing is mostly is because you can probably get a couple degrees of separation back to Native Americans, right? If you use just wolves. Well, wolves are very important to Native Americans. Any sort of animal you can tie back to Native Americans, and also you can offend a group of people. You can offend PETA, for example.
And I really don't think they're worried about
not
being
going to be animals.
that. I don't think they're tiptoeing.
Of course they are.
No, I'm not saying that it's.
They can't have anything that is mildly offensive to any person on the planet, because
This is ridiculous.
that's what got them in the situation.
This is getting ridiculous. They are not going that far, right? I think the Burgundian Zone, Kyle from the Burgundian Zone has the same kind of thing about this. He please go listen to them. I'm not going to say his opinions for him, just because I don't want to misrepresent how he feels. But I've on Twitter he's been very vocal on he joking around with some of the names like the Washington Progressives, because you don't want to have to, offend and you have to tiptoe. I actually posted 1776. So I do theater, big dork in that regards. 1776 musical, and John Adams says it's a revolution. Damn it, we're going to have to offend somebody. And I think that this goes with that. Is I think somebody's going to get offended, I think, by the name, but I just don't think that it's not going to be something that is as controversial as a slur. I don't think we're certainly going to go there. But as far as an animal, I don't think one thing that they've already come out with, and Jason Wright has said this as well, it's not going to just be some random animal. It's going to have you mentioned the DC tie. And so that part I can agree with, which is where I think a name like Wolves is probably going to be put on the back burner. You mentioned a little bit of the tie to Native Americans.
Right. And that's all you need is a little bit.
And
that's all you need is a little bit.
And so I can see where that one goes. I know a lot of people were like, well, hogs, thinking like, oh, it ties back to the history. It's going to unite us. It's going to do. I don't think hogs is going to work. Just not exactly a very attractive name. Which is something I think that they're kind of going for, is something that they can, they don't want to literally put lipstick on a pig.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah. So, again, if it's even mildly offensive, they're not doing it. They're not going to do anything that's specific to the military.
I agree with that. 100%. Okay? I said it. I know some people don't agree with it, but I do not think that they're going to end up having anything tied to the military.
Are you going to be called the Admirals? No, because that's only Navy and Coast Guard.
As an Air Force,
what about the
Air Force vet and an Air Force service member? Yeah, let's not go with the Admirals, please.
Exactly. So because you're going to offend is not the right word, but you're going to exclude a large group of people, like airmen, Marines, and soldiers.
I'm really worried where you're getting to, Stone. I'm really concerned.
So it's not going to be generals. Yeah. It's not going to be Washington Brigade, because again, you don't have brigades in the Air Force, you don't have brigades in the Navy, and so forth. So it's not going to be any of that. All right, so we've eliminated a huge swath. So I'm going to bring it down to two.
Two names?
To two names, but then I'm going to tell you the one exactly. The one that I would like it to be, but I don't think it's going to be, and that is the Washington Justice. Okay? You have that DC tie because of the federal government being here. the justice of the Supreme Court being in D.C., federal government, all that stuff. So there's that possibility, but I don't think it's going to be the name because that's the name of the DC's gaming, the esports team. They're called the Washington Justice, I believe.
Well, if that's the case, I think that's automatically thrown out then.
Yeah, so you got to throw that out. I mean, you can get that name. You can just put a bunch of lawyers on it and pay them enough money. But is that something that you want to do? Do you want to take a name away from somebody, and that's how you're going to start off your new branding? But I don't hate that. You can talk about we are what's the right, performing or giving justice to the other team, right? We are laying down justice to that. So I don't hate that. But there's that one little piece being that name is basically already taken.
One small piece. It's actually being used.
That's all it takes.
Currently being used.
Right. But I mean, if you want to,
a little bit bigger than a small piece is what I'm saying.
But if you want to, like I said, you can just throw money at it and you can take that name away. No problem. I mean, it's an esports. That's a big industry. But hello, this is the NFL. They can basically do whatever they want if that's what they want to do. So here you go. You ready? Here's the drum roll. Here's what the name is going to be for the 2022 Washington football team. Drum roll. Starting in 2022, the Washington football team will be known as the Washington Monument. I know you don't like it, and I know a lot of people will not like it, but I don't like it, but it is the least offensive. It unites everybody because you have tons of monuments in the area. You have marketing opportunities galore because you're not tied to one specific monument. So you can have your marketing based around all different kinds of monuments. It's not something that's been done before, and it has zero ties to Native Americans, and it cannot possibly offend anyone.
It offends
other
me.
than those
who offends me on how bad that is. I'm
sorry.
We've worked all this way for you to tell us that you know the team's going to be the Washington Monuments. It's not. Stoner's wrong.
It is.
I would love to hear the opinion of our listeners. So tweet at us, at Ref the District, and let us know what you think the name is, because it's certainly not going to be the Washington Monuments.
It doesn't matter if you like it. I hate it, but it's basically all they've got. It's their only choice to be able to do all of those things that Jason has talked about. Nothing related to Native Americans, something that will unite us, something with a DC tie, going to keep the colors, something unoffensive to anybody in any way. He's made those parameters.
I love that word.
He's made those parameters, and that's what it's going to be. I'm sorry you don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's a terrible name. But we're going to get used to it, just like we got used to the Washington Wizards, which is a horrendous name. Not a great basketball name.
I think people they don't really care about the name right now because they care about the product on the field. And that's going to be true of the Washington football team. If they win, as we've mentioned, they can be called. We got a couple suggestions from Kimbra in the chat here on our live stream for YouTube is the Washington Golden Line or Washington Burgundy Royals. I don't think Royals is going to stand. I don't think they're going to do anything with a monarch or anything like that. Nope. You can't have anything representing a monarch, when you're the DC team. That's right. I just don't think that's going to work out very well there. One of the names I've heard, and I know people don't like this because they feel like it's too, for we Americans. I know we have some listeners abroad, but for the Americans, it's too soccer-like, which is the DCFC. And then we've mentioned having a tie, and I think the DCFC, where we're just the B and G, the burgundy and gold, as a reference for it. I like that. Yeah. I know I didn't like it several months ago. We have a clip of me freaking out over you when you thought just keep calling the Washington football team and all this other stuff. I do think just sticking with Washington football team or Washington football club is a no-go. But I think DCFC is a B&G is a little bit, more tailored. And I think you can do a lot of things with that. And I've warmed up to it. I don't think that's going to be the name. That's
Right,
personally
it's not.
my choice at this moment. So,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not going to
Well,
be.
we're
the
gonna play this.
so.
We're gonna play this clip in January of
Yo,
2022
we're going to clip it now
because
because we need
you know,
people to hear this.
hey, look, people who have seen into the future and who are seers, they're mocked, right? They're mocked when they first come out with this stuff, but then it comes true. I'm sorry that you don't like the name, and again, I don't like it either, but that's going to be the name.
Well, we'll have
All
to
right.
see. I think Stoner is wrong on this one, but he was right about what we'll be talking about in the post game. We're going to be bringing up Wes Unseld Jr. here right after this. Welcome back for the post game. Washington Wizards have finally selected a head coach. I mean, it's only about time. The draft is right around the corner. And hey, it happened to be. We shared this clip fairly liberally because people needed to know that here on Ref the District on June 6th, so a full, let's say, month and 12 days, so roughly a month and a half ago, the Wes Unseld Jr. by name was picked as the head coach here on Ref the District. I don't really want to take credit for this. This was actually Stoner. Stoner, you're the one who was just like, they're going to pick a coach for these reasons, and because of that, it's going to be Wes Unseld Jr. So congratulations, Stoner, for being right. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, and we got it here on Ref the District.
Go ahead. Mock genius is often mocked. I understand. That was a genius. And by the way,
it was a great take. I agreed with it.
It was during the season too.
Their games were still being played. Scott Brooks was still coaching. Well, Scott Brooks was still on the sidelines there on the court. Coaching right? Is maybe a strong word for this. Yeah. But I thought it was a great take. Then I really am proud of you for really
thank you.
Showing that analytical mind. Why I love talking sports with you. One thing that I have seen. So you mentioned all these good reasons why Wes Unseld Jr. and we've talked about this a couple times. Why he was going to be a good pick. A lot of people have been focusing on one of those things though lately, and they're not a huge fan of this. They wanted Cassell, they wanted somebody else because they didn't like Wes Unseld Jr. as the legacy hire.
Well, those people don't understand basketball. Those are people who are just looking at.
Hear that, Ellie, into classified? Because I know you're one of them. I hope you get back at Stoner for this because that's pretty. I think that they know basketball well enough. I think they just had their hopes set for somebody else. I don't think that Wes Unseld Jr. is a legacy hire. First off,
he's not.
He has ties to the organization, yes, both with his father, and then he was also within the assistant coaching. But this guy's been an assistant coach for 16 years and is highly regarded across the league. Denver actually gave him the assistant head coach title. So
that's right.
To me, when people are taking this and saying, oh, it's just a legacy hire, not really excited about it, I'm just like, wow, that is really, really ignoring all the great things that Wes Unseld Jr. has done as a coach.
And let's not forget, he was a finalist for the Orlando job. He was a finalist for the New Orleans job. So it's not like you said, it's not like they just plucked him because of his name. He absolutely has the credentials to fill this position, and just so happens that he's the son of the greatest figure within the organization's history in Wes Unseld Sr. Pour some out for a senior who passed away a couple years ago. But it's a great pick. Who knows if it's going to work out? I don't want to hear anything about, well, they took a month to finally hire him. He must not have been their first choice. That's not true. You have no idea what happened in the vetting process, in the hiring process. Maybe you wanted Sam Cassell. Maybe you wanted Darvin Ham.
Yeah. This is not a fallback choice. A fallback choice would have been hiring within the organization from somebody who was on Scott Brooks' staff. That would have been a fallback. Wes Unseld Jr. was a targeted head coach, and from the beginning, and not just by Washington, but by other teams. You mentioned Orlando. I'm pretty sure other teams were very interested in him and went another direction. I don't know why, but I'm okay with that because I do think that he has the potential to do well here. And he's already got some people excited because he's talking about using, Beal in a different way. And he's also talking about using Amendola, or however his name's pronounced. Avdia.
Amendola, yeah, he's a heck of a player, that Amendola.
Give me a break, folks.
Yeah.
I am working off of very little sleep.
A couple hours of sleep.
But
this is not a Jim Zorn hire. This is not we tried to hire this guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. Guess we're left with Jim Zorn. This is not one of those. They did their homework. They vetted him. They talked to him. They talked to their players, their important players, about him. And this is who they came up with. He may end up being the same as every other coach in the last 40 years, which is absolutely terrible. But at least you're starting fresh with somebody who is well regarded. This is his first time. He's going to put a lot of passion, a lot of energy into it. He's going to be able to communicate with the players because he is a little bit younger. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm just hoping we can break this cycle of just being terrible year after year after year, especially defensively.
That would certainly help. I'm excited for Gafford as a defender with Wes Unseld Jr. I think that's going to be, he's going to take it to another level. The kid was already playing pretty well with the limited minutes that he was given because his conditioning wasn't the greatest. So hopefully he works on that because he can really be a player. Thomas Bryant's coming back for the Wizards, so you'll have a couple centers in there. Hopefully some good things can come from that. What do you make of the 4-year contracts? Because we had talked about the standard being essentially 5 years, or at least 4 plus 1. And
well, it might be
I don't have the details.
We don't
it's
know.
being just listed right now as a 4-year contract, so not a 4 plus 1. I felt that was kind of interesting. I don't think I don't want to read too much in that because, like I said, we don't have the contract details. But I thought that kind of popped out to me. That it was a 4-year, because especially, as I mentioned, we've talked about 5 years being pretty standard. Hopefully he's the coach for the next decade, because that means he'll be performing pretty well. So it will be interesting to see how that does. Congratulations to Wes Unseld Jr. We look forward to reffing you here on Ref the District.
And we'll do plenty of that. As much as I love him, that first game they get blown out 136-98. I'm gonna hammer him.
Well, that's not the only Wizards news to really be brought up. Beal, I mentioned him just a moment ago. The first Washington player to represent USA in the Olympics, and now he won't be playing in the Olympics. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah. I feel bad for Bradley, obviously, because he's wanted this for a long time. He's made it very clear that he wants to represent his country in the Olympics, and he won't be able to do that. But selfishly, I'm okay with it. That means he gets to stay home and not rest and put his body through a month of intense game action, and he'll be ready for training camp, hopefully, without that
the added strain
on his body.
Especially in the condensed season and making it to the playoffs. And so they played a few more games. Yeah,
and it went later into the summer because they started later.
So I think the rest will be good. I do feel bad for him. It's a situation where I feel terrible. Here in the DC area, we need to be very mindful of, as reports are coming out for Washington football team. Their players, for those who are unaware, Beal was put into the protocols for COVID reasons. And Washington football team has less than 50% of their players that are vaccinated. So this will be something that we'll be watching very closely here on Ref the District, because that's going to play a big part into the season, because as people start going in there is, the Delta variant that has some people concerned. What's going to happen though is, you can't risk your whole team going down. So you get one positive, that person, and then probably a lot of the contacts are being pulled. And, yes, people have been shown to have positive tests after being fully vaccinated. But that also plays a part. It's going to be a very interesting situation, and we'll keep track of it here on Ref the District.
But the big part of that is the policy that the NFL has. That's the difference between a vaccinated player and an unvaccinated player. A vaccinated player, if they are in a high contact tracing situation, nothing happens. If you're unvaccinated, then you have to quarantine. And we saw what that did to Denver last year in their quarterback situation, when every single quarterback had to be under quarantine, and they had to start a guy who they just signed that week off of their practice squad who hadn't played quarterback since college, and they got blown out. So it is a competitive disadvantage if your guys are not vaccinated. And they need to push that part, regardless of what the science says or what the policy is. They need to push that part to make sure that their players are vaccinated.
Science. I want them to go with the science. I want the like. I understand what you're saying. Like,
but you don't have to.
You want to get the competitive advantage. You don't want to be at a competitive disadvantage. So you're just saying, regardless, do it for that reason.
Yeah.
You trust. I'll trust our doctors and our the people who are the scientists, the people who are very smart. I'll let them make those decisions. And I hope that the Washington football team makes some good decisions. One of the things for them, real quick before we switch to the Caps here, is Washington football team was praised last year for how they handled at one of the top teams, very few cases. I think potentially even the least amount of cases. So I think they're going to have to double down on that again this year. But that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Like I said, we'll watch that as the season progresses. Not in the season currently, but big things happening for the Capitals. So who as Seattle gets ready to take the players, who do they have to pick from Washington?
Well, unfortunately, even though the deadline was yesterday to submit their protected list, those are not made public. And I don't know when they're going to.
We'll see some leaks
be
today.
Made public,
we'll
if at all.
See some leaks today.
Yeah, hopefully. But I haven't seen any leaks other than a couple of different teams have leaked out. Maybe if a player was left off, and it was kind of surprising. I don't think there's going to be much of a surprise for the Capitals unless they leave Kuznetsov off the protected list. But we already know who basically all the protected players are going to be. And don't forget that Seattle has to take one player off of the team. It's not, here are some options to take a player. It is, you have to take one player. So one player is leaving. We do know that for sure. We just don't know which player that's going to be.
All right. Well, that'll be interesting to see who it comes and the leaks come, and I'm sure we'll share those on our Twitter account. That's at Ref the District. So again, we stream live every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on our YouTube, and then we also put this out on your favorite podcasting platforms. That's Apple, Spotify, Google, and Amazon. So you can listen to us there. We always appreciate a subscription and a like for the content that we provide. So please, you can provide that. Again, we are now a part of the Lounge Room Network and sponsored by One Call Technology. Head on over to One Call's website, www.onecalltech.com, for all of your telecom service needs, whether or not that's high-speed internet, business phone systems. They have over 100 years of experience in virtually every aspect of your business communications. That's One Call Technology. It's been great being back here with you, Stoner. Appreciate it. Sorry our banter on your side was a little bit less this time in the opening, but we'll talk some more here offline. But for now, this has been episode 25 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry, and he's the Stoner.
Sure as day.
We love Washington, and we some die-hard fans. Yeah, we are. And we keep it on 10. Let's talk about the offense. 1, 2, 3, let's go.
And they gifted.
We are
Nathan and the Stoner. Yeah, that's Ref the District.
That's the podcast.
Come on out and join us.
Join it.